Hey everybody, I just wanted to do a companion video to my uh, gun show used gun deal. Now, one of the things that I wanted to talk about today is if you are someone who likes guns, one of the things you might consider is going out and looking for guns on the pre-owned market. It's not always financially the best idea to go out and buy a brand new gun. For instance, this SIG P226 Legion is almost $1,300 once you get license and all that, and taxes and all of that other, the little things and fees depending on where you live in the country. It can become a $1,400 purchase. That's a lot of money. And while I think this gun is definitely worth a pretty penny, I got this one used for about 850 bucks. This is my wife's gun, and this is a gun that she shoots unbelievably. I think that this gun is maybe one of the best carry guns ever made. So while I have been looking for a couple new project guns, I had been looking for an Italian-made Beretta 92 for a couple of years. And so I found this gun at a gun show. Now, normally, these are about $1,000. If you look at someone like Midway USA or Brownells, the stainless 92FS. Most of them today are made in the United States. There's not really an issue with that, but it has been understood for many years that a actual Italian Beretta 92 is a little bit better quality. I don't know if that's necessarily true, but I consider that to be generally true, having had a Beretta previously that was made in the United States compared to this one. This model was made in 1994, and normally, like I said, these are about $1,000 for your 92 9mm inox units. And I was able to get this gun for 550 bucks, cash in hand, no paperwork. Kind of a nice deal, right? I live in a state where that's not illegal. And so, I'm taking advantage while that's still the law. I have no comment on that anyways. I just, by the way, I'm just saying this is the way it is and take advantage of things while they're legal. So let's first of all safety check this before we play with it. And we are clear. Now, this one came with one of the stainless mags, and the stainless mag is important to have with this because that's just part of the package. So you'll see in my other video where I take this out to test it, that I put this gun through a battery of testing that was going to be necessary for me to be able to trust it. Whenever you buy a used gun, especially if you go to a place such as a pawn shop or a place like a gun shop that might have used guns, it's very common for those guns to not be tested at all. And they a lot of times say, if you have a problem, take it up with the manufacturer. Most gun companies have lifetime warranties on their guns, at least insofar as the major components go, right? So let's say you buy a used Taurus. If you ever have a problem with a Taurus or a Springfield, you just send it back to the factory. You don't have to be the original owner. Now, if you have a gun that's a little bit older, you're probably going to run into some trouble. Who knows what's been done to this gun, how many rounds have been through it. Really, the only way that you can actually look at what you're getting is by doing a physical inspection. So I'm going to show you a few things that I've learned over the years that will help you potentially learn what it will look like to buy a used gun, okay? So again, we've already safety checked this gun, but one of the things that I'd like to do is just make sure, okay, that, the slide works on the gun, the action, right? If you have a snap cap or something, what you can do is to make sure that the snap cap and everything is feeding and ejects properly. Now, I'm going to do this with a live round, so I'm not going to pull the trigger on this, but I'm going to show you. This is a live round. What you're going to do is hand off, not even close to the trigger. We're going to go ahead and just make sure that it cycles, okay? And then what we're going to do after that is make sure that it ejects. So with my finger not even close to the trigger, I'm going to cycle the action relatively quickly, and we're going to hopefully see this round eject out. And it locked back open on a slide, the slide locked back on an empty chamber. So that's exactly what we want. And okay, that means that at least the mechanisms work fine. A way that you can test to make sure that your actual firing pin and firing mechanism is working fine is you can actually get a wooden pencil and go ahead and drop it down your barrel. Make sure, obviously, as many times as you can to check that everything is clear and safe here, because you're going to want to make sure that your firing pin is working. We've just checked the extractor, which is this little guy right here that helps pull a shell out or a live round if you want to. And then what you'll do is you'll stick the pen or the pencil in here, and then you'll go ahead and click the gun. And if the pencil goes bloop and shoots out even a little bit, that just means that the firing pin is actually protruding from the back of the what's called breech face here. Okay, and so that means that it will probably light a primer. Now remember, you can always just take this to a gun range and shoot it if you want to, but the important thing to do in this case is just make sure that it works. Make sure that everything is working. Now, a lot of times, these are things that you're going to have to do once you have already brought the gun home. A lot of places won't even let you, fire and cycle to action in the gun store. That's where you start to run into some issues, right? Because you could totally buy a dud. This particular gun is from 1994. I was able to date code it using this little mark here. There are some roll marks on here, and this one is roll marked BD, and I looked that up in a database, and it shows that this was made in 1994. Also you can check to see if the certain manufacturers have a serial number lookup as well. One of the things you want to do is actually find a picture of what your gun looked like stock, and actually look and try to determine if there's anything on this gun that's different. One of the things you might notice is that this part of the gun on the frame seems to be polished. I haven't seen any pictures where the factory had actually sent any of these out with this part polished. So that means that maybe somebody had been working on it, right? Anytime that you have a gun like this that you buy used, you don't know if somebody has been working on this gun or doing anything to tune it up or whatever. So that's just something to think about. This one has, some scuffs and things. It's got some wear. Some people like to call that salt. There's a couple little marks where there's been some pitting or corrosion of something that's gotten on this gun. And so that's just some things we have to think about. Right here, we've got some stuff that's been built or worn itself into the serrations here. And there's just marks and wear. This is a 30-year-old gun as of this year. But if you watch the companion video to this, everything on the gun works perfectly fine and there's nothing wrong with it at all. One of the things that you will see, though, is that it has these red colored sights, and they are extremely hard to see, which means they may have been glowy orange at some point. I'm going to have to probably make some attempt to try and add some white paint into that, because as you can see with the Beretta 92, this has a staked on or pinned on front sight that is pinned in from the bottom side. And on here, it has a divot in which some paint can be placed. These actually will have to have some gunsmithing done if you want to replace them. If you buy the model 92A1 or the M9A1, they will have dovetails on both front and the rear. Now, the rear does have sort of a dovetail. There's nothing wrong with it. They will probably need some adjusting, but for the most part, they seem to be pretty on. All of the mechanisms on this gun, though, work perfectly without any issue. Extraction, feeding, everything. Now, one of the things I recommend doing in my companion video is testing multiple types of ammo. This is my carry ammo, though, and so you're going to want to make sure that you finally, before you test or you carry any gun on you with the intent to use it as your carry gun, that you've shot a couple of boxes of carry ammo. This is 124 grain Federal HST standard pressure. It's actually maybe the round that has performed higher than any other round in the history of most ballistic gel testing YouTube videos. I don't think you need to go to the plus P unless you have a smaller frame to try to get some of that back. When you have a big gun like this, you actually do get a whole lot of that heavy duty type of performance, because you're going to get a little bit of that barrel length. So just a few different things to look at, though. When you're buying a used gun, just inspect it. One of the things you're going to want to do is take it apart completely and make sure that everything inside of it is clean, that there's no weird, ugly modifications that might affect the way that it works. In a gun like this, it has a decocker, so you're going to want to make sure that the decocker works. Now, what I would recommend doing on a gun that has a decocker is do that same thing without having to use a live round, unless you have a snap cap without a primer dent, is go ahead and stick the pencil in there, go ahead and cock that hammer back, and then go ahead and activate the decocker. Now, you may not have to do it in these Berettas because the Beretta actually has a transfer, which once you turn this down, you see how the pin moves? It actually cannot transfer any pressure from the hammer to the firing pin. But let's say you have a gun like this, a 226, that has the same thing. Well, what you're going to do is you're going to decock it with the pencil in there. And if it shoots the pencil out, your decocker is malfunctioning. So let's see here. Compared to the 226 Legion, this was a $900 gun used. I did the same thing with this gun, except when I bought this gun new, or excuse me, when I bought this gun used, it was in almost new condition. And you can really tell that the gun has almost seen no rounds through it, right? So I felt a lot better about this one. You could see a tiny bit of what we call salt on it. But this gun has clearly been used. And so one of the things I think that was important is just to make sure that all the functions on the gun work, that there's no issues, that everything is as expected. And then, of course, you're going to take it to the range, test a few different types of ammo, find out where it shoots, how it shoots, and then once you're finally done with that, test out your carry ammunition with it. Overall, my experience with this gun has been great. It's been a little bit of a unique gun because this is still a 1994 Beretta 92, and it's going to need a few things, and it's got a couple of unique attributes to it. This light polishing that someone has done on it might need a touch-up or a little bit, but I kind of like the character. You know, if you get a gun like this, you might consider using this as a good platform to potentially change the grips out, do some modifications. As long as the barrel, the frame, and the slide and the trigger system are all working, I mean, get out there and shoot. Have a good time and go enjoy yourself. So $550 for a used gun at a gun show was a great deal for me. Now, I just hope that you'll apply some of these, you know, specific tips that I've used insofar as checking out a used gun and you know, just playing with your new toys before you have the opportunity, you know, to take them out and carry them. But sometimes buying a used gun can be a little bit of a daunting task. But if you follow the steps and look for certain things that will make you confident that the used gun that you're buying is worth the money, then get out there and start looking for some deals. So I hope everyone's doing well. Please be safe out there. Always follow your rules of gun safety and watch the companion video where I put this gun through its paces a little bit, put a few hundred rounds through it, and then learn a little bit about what's going on with the gun. Thanks, everybody. Bye-bye.